Good morning. We are looking at Bellwork for March 22nd. And we're going to be looking at identifying whether a text is in third person, which is a narrator telling you the story, or first person, which is a person actually telling you their own story. And so what we do to determine that is look at the pronouns. We want to look at the pronouns. Okay, so once we read through here, we'll be circling some pronouns, and they will help us determine what point of view the passage is being written from. Okay, so passage 1. All right, let's look at the question first. Which of the following statements is true? The author of passage 1 wants to add a sentence. Which sentence, if added, would be the best fit? Okay, so I was doing that whole thing. The author of passage 2 wants to add a sentence. Which sentence would be the best fit? All right, and then number 4, who is most likely the narrator of the first passage? Okay, that might have already just given, if you caught that, they have given us some help with one of our questions. Okay, so passage 1. Mama dressed in her new fall attire, and Aunt Val wrapped a checkered scarf around her neck. Okay, so there's a pronoun. It wasn't quite cool enough for fall clothing, but the two of them would hear nothing of it. So there's a pronoun. My mama and aunt have been best friends ever since I could remember. My mama has 3 children, and my Aunt Val has 2. Each year they load us up into Aunt Val's huge van to take us to the pumpkin patch to select our pumpkin for carving. Mama's rule about pumpkin picking is that we must be able to carry our own pumpkin. She really thinks it's silly to spend money on a wagon when we can carry the pumpkins ourselves. I had big plans for my pumpkin this year. I knew I was far stronger than I had been in years past, and hoped I could choose one large enough for Daddy to carve a scary witch into. We waited for Aunt Val to give us the signal, and then we each went running into the field to choose our perfect pumpkin. Okay, so I see we and I see I. Okay, so that gives me a big clue. When I see that the person telling the story is using I and we, then this is going to be first person. How can I prove it? My, we, I. They are included in these personal pronouns. Okay, passage 2. The time was finally here for Lucy to open her very first pumpkin patch. With her heart pounding and legs shaking, she opened the gate and flipped the sign so that it read, "Open." She chewed her nails anxiously as she stood on tippy toes looking for the big crowd. Not one car lined up for the grand opening. She couldn't believe the disappointment she felt peering over her shoulder at Marcy. "Marcy, I can't believe no one came," she sobbed. Marcy looked confused and couldn't quite put her finger on it, but she knew something was wrong. She reached into her back pocket and pulled out a crumbled and faded flyer they had hung all over the town. Then she looked at me. She looked at her watch and again at the flyer. She shook her head back and forth and jabbed a finger at the flyer. "Lucy, the flyer says we open tomorrow." She exhaled with relief. Okay, so I didn't see I and me. So this one is going to be third person. All right, so I've identified. So now let's go to my questions. Which of the following statements is true? Passage 1 is written in first person, but passage 2 is written in third. Okay, that's a possibility. All right, both passages are written in first person. Nope, so I can eliminate. Passage 1 is written in third person, but passage 2 is written in first person. So my correct answer is A. Okay, question 2. The author of passage 1 wants to add a sentence. Which sentence, if added, would be the best fit? Okay, so again, I know my, I. So I'm going to look for we, pronouns that show that that person person telling you the story is included. Okay. All right. The children shouted with glee, running through the large open pumpkin fields. Well, that, if from passage 1, they were included, so that doesn't show. Okay, so I'm going to eliminate. Mama and Aunt Val smiled down at the children as they held large, round pumpkins. All right. Still, go ahead and read through it. See. Mama ran into the field after us, hoping to find a pumpkin for herself. C, because in the word us, the speaker is included. Okay, so you're going to answer 3 and 4. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do Tuesday, the 23rd. Again, looking for first person or third person. Again, looking at my pronouns. All right, so let's look at the questions. Which of the following is true? If the author of passage 1 wants to add a sentence, what would be the best fit? Who is most likely the narrator of the second? Okay, who is the narrator of the second passage? Okay. 4, who is most likely the narrator of the first passage? All right, so who is narrator of the first passage? Okay. All right, so remember, first person is they're included in the story. Third person is someone is telling the story and they are not included. They are not a part of the story. They're just telling you about it. All right. Jasper Elementary hosted their first annual bake-off last night. The bake-off was held to raise money for the school's music department, and it was a complete success. Haven't had many pronouns yet to help me figure it out. I'm going to keep reading. Students from kindergarten to 5th grade brought in delicious homemade creations to auction off to the highest bidders. The highest bid went to Linda Sanchez, who purchased a warm apple pie for $89. The pie was baked by Louis Harris, who is known for using homegrown apples in his, there's a pronoun, his pies. In all, the school was able to raise $895 for the music department. This money will go towards the purchase of music books for the children. Okay, so it didn't say for us, it said for the children, so they're still not a part of that group yet. Mr. Daughtery, the school music teacher, would like to thank everyone for their participation. The night was a roaring success. It could not have happened without the many volunteers and eager bidders. All right, so since I didn't see I, me, we, us, I'm going to say this is third person. All right. $65, I shouted. Oh, I can figure it out already. My heart was pounding as I couldn't believe I might actually win one of Louie's pie. I heard all about these pies from my neighbor. She'd won Louie's pies the last 2 years in a row. She was always bragging and never sharing. I couldn't wait to see the look on her face as I outbid her tonight. If I said $25, she would say $30. We went back and forth like this until I finally broke her budget of $89. I know my husband probably won't be too pleased I spent so much money on a pie, but he loves music, so I am sure he won't mind too much. Plus, he couldn't say no to such a mouth-watering pie. Louie's face lit up knowing that his pie had been such a crowd pleaser. Miss Hobbs, my neighbor, gave me several bitter looks through the remainder of the evening. I already knew she wasn't going to let me outbid her next year. So since I see I and my, I know this is first person. All right. So which of these following statements is true? Both passages are written in third person. Nope, because there's third and there's first. All right. Passage 1 is written in first person, but passage 2 is written in third one. Okay, so passage 1, nope, that's not right. Passage 1 is written in third person, and passage 2 is written in first person. That is correct. All right, question 2. The author of passage 1 wants to add a sentence. Okay, so I know that passage 1, okay, so the author of passage 1 wants to add a sentence. Okay, so it's third person. Mr. Daughtery says plans for next year's bake-off are already underway. Now, that's a possibility. I couldn't be, no, because I is a part of first person. Miss Sanchez really loved my, nope, that's a part of first person. So, for it to be third person, A is my correct answer. All right, you're going to answer 3 and 4 on both sides.